Here's something most women never think about. The way a man says hello to you in those first few seconds can reveal more than a full hour of conversation. Before a person carefully chooses their words, their body often communicates what their mind has not yet organized. The first moments of an interaction carry small signals. The energy behind the greeting, the level of attention they give, the warmth in their expression, and whether they seem genuinely present in that moment. A simple hello may appear ordinary, but human beings are constantly communicating beyond language. The tone of someone's voice, their eye contact, their facial expression, and their overall presence can reveal comfort, curiosity, excitement, nervousness, or emotional distance. When a man is genuinely interested, his greeting often carries a sense of awareness. It may feel like he is not just acknowledging your existence, but actually noticing you. There is a difference between someone who casually says hello because it is socially expected, and someone who greets you as if your presence has changed the atmosphere of the moment. The difference is subtle, but it can be felt. A person who is drawn to you may naturally become more engaged. Their attention shifts toward you. They may smile differently, become more focused, or show a level of warmth that feels more personal than their usual interactions. These small behaviors are not guarantees of deep feelings, but they can offer clues about someone's comfort and interest. The important thing is not to judge everything from one single moment. Human behavior is complex. Some people are naturally quiet, shy, nervous, or less expressive, even when they genuinely care. A greeting alone cannot reveal someone's entire emotional world, but when combined with consistent actions over time, these small moments can become meaningful pieces of a larger picture. What many people overlook is that attraction is not only communicated through dramatic gestures, it often appears in ordinary moments. It is in the way someone remembers something you mentioned weeks ago. It is in the way they make time for you. It is in whether they listen when you speak. It is in whether their actions consistently match their words. The first hello can be a doorway, but what matters is what happens after that door opens. A man who is emotionally present will usually show curiosity about you. He will want to know your thoughts, your experiences, your dreams, and the things that make you who you are. He will not only be interested in how you look or how you make him feel in the moment, he will become interested in understanding your world. That is where genuine connection begins. Many people focus heavily on trying to create the perfect impression when meeting someone. They think about saying the right thing, looking the right way, or appearing as attractive as possible. But often the most powerful moments happen when both people are simply present and authentic. A genuine connection is not built through performance. It is built through emotional openness. The way someone greets you can sometimes reveal their level of comfort, enthusiasm, and attention, but the deeper truth is always found in patterns. One warm hello is just a moment. Repeated effort, consistency, and care are what reveal intention. Because real interest is rarely hidden in one dramatic action. It lives in the small details. The way someone looks at you when you speak, the way they remember what matters to you, the way they make you feel respected and valued. The first hello may catch your attention, but the way someone continues to show up is what tells the real story. His tone, the look in his eyes, the tension or ease in his shoulders, the way your name sounds coming out of his mouth, all of it is a tiny window into how he actually feels about you. When a man is genuinely into you, he doesn't just toss out a hey. Something in him lights up. You can see a shift in his energy, a softening in his face, an almost eager quality to how he shows up, like he's been waiting all day for you to walk through that door, and the room only feels complete now that you have. But here's the catch. Plenty of men aren't confident enough to say how they feel out loud. That's exactly why the greeting matters so much. Those first few unguarded seconds are where the real truth lives, before he puts his mask back on, before the charm kicks in, before he starts choosing his words carefully. So if you've ever walked away from seeing someone and wondered, did that actually mean something? This is for you. We're going to break down the quiet, often overlooked signals hiding in the way a man greets you, so you never have to guess at his interest again. Once you understand this, you'll never hear a simple hello the same way again. Let's get into it. When it comes to romantic feelings, most men don't just come out and say what's going on inside them. That's not because they don't care, it's because they're built differently when it comes to expressing emotion. Especially early on, being vulnerable feels like a risk to a lot of guys. So rather than saying something direct like, "I really like you," They show it in quieter ways, often without even being aware they're doing it. From a psychological standpoint, men tend to express attraction through their actions, how close they stand to you, and shifts in their energy, not through announcements. And the very first place all of this becomes visible is in how they say hello. Let's look at what's actually going on inside a man's brain in that moment. When he feels pulled toward you, whether emotionally or physically, his brain floods with dopamine, the chemical tied to pleasure and reward. That surge can show up as excitement, a quicker heartbeat, and sharper attentiveness. He might lean toward you without even realizing it. His pupils might widen slightly, or his voice might come out warmer and softer than usual. These are all signs that on some level his brain has marked you as significant. This is instinct taking over. Even if he says nothing about it, his body will still respond to your presence. He may try to look more self-assured, standing up straighter, deepening his voice. He might hold eye contact longer than normal, or you might catch small signs of nerves like fidgeting or fixing his clothes. Why does this happen? Because he wants you to see him at his best. It's attraction playing out as a kind of unconscious performance. And don't underestimate the role of emotional safety here. A man is far more likely to show his real interest when he doesn't feel like he's going to be judged or shut down. So if he picks up on the fact that you're warm, open, and comfortable in your own skin, he's more likely to let his guard down during that first exchange. That greeting becomes his quiet, unspoken way of telling you, I want to be close to you. Interestingly, one of the strongest signs a man is interested has less to do with what he says and more to do with what he remembers. If he greets you by bringing up something you mentioned before, a detail about your work, your go-to coffee order, some small story you told him, that's a sign his brain has been holding on to it because you matter to him. For a lot of men, remembering the little things is its own quiet form of affection. But not every man shows interest with confidence. Some guys actually get more awkward around the women they like most, not because they don't care, but because they care so much it throws them off. This is where a lot of women get the wrong idea. You might think he barely said hello when really he was overthinking every single move, terrified of messing it up. Bottom line, male attraction doesn't always announce itself loudly. It builds in layers, in a smile that lingers a beat too long, in a goodbye that takes forever, in the way he quietly makes room for you in a crowded space. His greeting is his emotional tell, the moment his guard slips even just a little. Let's break it down further. If his eyes brighten the moment he sees you, that's not just being polite, that's chemistry at work. His pupils might dilate slightly, a biological reaction tied to excitement. His blinking might speed up or slow down depending on how calm or nervous he is. And most tellingly, he'll hold eye contact just a bit longer than usual, because in that moment he's not just looking at you, he's taking you in. Notice the difference between a quick glance and him being fully present. Does he pause when you walk in? Do his eyes move slowly across your face before he even speaks? Does he look almost caught off guard, like he briefly forgot what he was going to say? That's not just manners, that's attraction rising to the surface before he can rein it in. There's a deeper layer here too. A man who feels an emotional connection to you won't just glance your way, he'll actually look into you. There's a softness there, a kind of focus that makes it feel like he's completely present with you and nobody else in that moment. He's not glancing at his phone, he's not distracted, he's locked in, because right then, being with you outweighs everything else competing for his attention. On the flip side, if his eyes seem far away, scanning the room, or shifting constantly, he might be standing in front of you physically, but somewhere else emotionally. That distinction matters a lot. Genuine interest stays focused. Fake interest wanders. It's also worth paying attention to how he reacts when your eyes meet his. If he holds that eye contact with a small smile or a curious look, that's usually a strong sign the connection goes both ways. If he glances away quickly, but then comes back to look again, he's probably intrigued but a little shy. And if he avoids eye contact entirely during a greeting, that could be a red flag, or it could simply point to deep nervousness. Context matters. What counts most isn't just that he's looking at you, but how he's looking at you. There's a certain quiet intensity in the eyes of a man who's genuinely into you, a spark, a warmth, sometimes even a flicker of vulnerability. His eyes might be saying, without a single word, I missed you, or I want to know you better, or even, I'm not sure what this is yet, but I feel something. So the next time a man greets you, don't just listen to what he says, look into his eyes. If you're paying close enough attention, you'll hear exactly what his heart is trying to say, even when he never speaks it out loud. While most people fixate on the words a man chooses, very few actually pay attention to how those words come out. But when a man is truly captivated by you, his voice betrays him whether he intends it to or not. There's a whole emotional undercurrent running beneath a man's tone whenever he greets someone he's genuinely drawn to. You'll pick up on it almost instantly. His voice might soften, warm up, or carry more energy than usual. He might draw out your name a little longer than necessary, or his words might tumble out faster, almost like he can't hold them back. These changes might seem minor, but they say a lot. Think about it. When you're excited, nervous, or emotionally affected by something, your voice changes. The same goes for men. If his usual tone is laid back or reserved, but suddenly there's a noticeable brightness or weight in how he greets you, take note. That's not a coincidence. That's resonance. He's feeling something, and it's slipping into his voice before he can catch himself. Sometimes the biggest clue is in the pause. If he sees you and hesitates for just a second before saying anything, that's often his brain trying to catch up with what he's feeling. A stumble over words, clearing his throat, or even a small breath before he says your name. These are signs that something inside him has shifted. Then there's volume. Some men unconsciously raise their voice a little when greeting a woman they're into. A kind of primal, unspoken way of saying, "Notice me, I'm here." Others do the opposite, dropping their voice a touch and speaking in a lower, more intimate register. That drop might be intentional or purely instinctive, but either way, it signals a desire to close the emotional distance between you. You might also catch a bit of nervous laughter, a change in his usual rhythm, or a barely there tremble in his voice. All of these point to feelings bubbling just under the surface. Attraction tends to throw off a man's usual patterns. When he's into you, his voice can become less polished, less guarded, more real. That's not a weakness. That's emotional honesty showing through. It's also worth listening for how personal his greeting sounds. Does he use your actual name? Does he say it softly, almost like it's a secret between the two of you? Or does his voice carry a warmth toward you that's noticeably different from how he talks to everyone else? If your name comes out of his mouth like it means something, trust that it does. A man's voice isn't just sound. It's a signal, carrying everything he feels, but might not yet know how to say. So when he greets you, don't just listen with your ears, listen with your intuition. Pay attention to the emotion underneath the words, to any shift you can catch. Because once you notice that subtle change, you'll understand that he's not just saying hello. Without saying it directly, he's telling you that you matter to him. Words can be misleading, but the body almost never lies. A man might try to seem cool, composed, or unaffected when he sees you, but his body usually tells the truth before his mouth does. If you want to know how he really feels the second he greets you, stop just listening and start watching. Pay attention to what he does before he even says a word. Does he stand a little taller? Does his posture shift? Does he turn his whole body toward you instead of just glancing over? These are all unconscious signs of respect, admiration, and yes, attraction. When a man is genuinely into you, he doesn't greet you with words alone. He greets you with his whole presence. His feet will often turn to face you, a small but telling sign that you have his full attention. His chest might puff up slightly, as if his body naturally wants to appear more open and strong. His shoulders will square toward you rather than away from you. All of it is his body's instinctive way of saying, "I'm here, I'm present, I feel safe with you." Now let's talk about energy. Everyone carries a kind of invisible emotional frequency, and when a man is into you, you'll feel that energy before he even opens his mouth. It can feel like a pull toward each other. You might notice him leaning in slightly, closing the physical gap between you, or finding small reasons to get closer. He might even unconsciously mirror your movements or match your pace. Something psychologists call mirroring, which often points to emotional alignment between two people. There's also the fidgeting factor. A man who's genuinely drawn to you might adjust his clothes, run his hand through his hair, or suddenly become more aware of how he's standing. He's not doing this to impress the room. He's doing it because of you specifically. These small physical cues usually come from a heightened awareness sparked by attraction. One of the biggest signs to watch for, though, is what you might call his readiness for touch. That doesn't mean anything inappropriate, far from it. It's really about how close he lets himself get. Does he give you a full, warm hug, or something more like a distant half hug? Does he briefly touch your shoulder, hand, or back when he says hello? These small gestures often speak louder than anything he could say. A man who greets you with warmth, presence, and respectful, gentle contact is showing you he feels emotionally safe around you and likely wants to feel even closer. And then there's the smile. Not the polite, automatic kind, but the one that actually reaches his eyes, softens his whole face, and lingers a little longer than it needs to. That kind of smile says, "I'm glad you're here. I've been waiting to see you." It's not something that can be faked. It's instinctive, honest, and powerful. So if you're ever unsure how a man feels about you, pay attention to his body when he greets you, not his words, but his posture, how close he stands, how present he is. His body will reveal what his heart might not be ready to say out loud yet. And once you learn to read that language, you'll stop wondering whether he's into you. You'll simply know. It might seem like hey is just a greeting. Quick, casual, nothing deep. But if you've ever received a message or been greeted in person and felt something more underneath that one small word, you weren't imagining it. The words a man chooses to greet you with, especially when he's emotionally invested, are never just words. They reflect how comfortable, curious, and connected he feels toward you. Let's be honest, a man who feels neutral about you will greet you with low-effort phrases. Hey, yo, what's up? That doesn't automatically mean he's uninterested, but it does show he isn't emotionally engaged on a deeper level, at least not yet. But when a man is genuinely into you, when he's been thinking about you, missing you, maybe even craving your presence, his greeting shifts. It becomes more personal, more specific, more emotionally rich. He might say your full name or use a nickname reserved just for you, wrapped in a familiarity that says you're different, that you matter to him. He might immediately ask about something specific in your life, how your presentation went, whether you got your car fixed, if you finally got some sleep. These aren't just small talk. They're emotional anchors showing he's been paying attention, remembering, caring. Pay attention to tone and warmth in his words. Does he sound happy to hear from you? Is there lightness or even a bit of vulnerability in his voice or his texts? Men often struggle to say their feelings directly, but they tend to weave meaning into their greetings anyway, an extra exclamation point, a certain emoji, a small inside joke. These little details act like breadcrumbs leading you toward how he really feels. Even more telling is how fast he responds when you reach out. If he replies almost immediately, even with something short, it's often because he's been waiting for the chance to talk to you. His message might be brief, but his response time says plenty. Men who aren't emotionally invested tend to take their time. Men who care show up quickly. Sometimes a simple, "Hey, you," can feel more intimate than any long, elaborate message. The most meaningful words aren't always grand declarations. Sometimes they're the small, everyday phrases said with real feeling. "I was just thinking about you." "Good morning, beautiful." "You made me smile." Seeing your name pop up isn't just a conversation starting, it's emotion tucked into routine. And when your name becomes part of a man's everyday greetings, it means you've already claimed real space in his emotional world. So the next time a man greets you, don't just take it at face value. Notice how he says your name. Pay attention to the care behind his words, the emotional weight in his tone, or the thoughtfulness of a well-timed message. Because when he's truly into you, his hey is never just a hey. It becomes an echo of everything he feels but hasn't figured out how to say yet. So you've noticed the signs. His eyes linger a little longer. His voice softens when your name comes up. His body naturally moves closer whenever you walk into a room. His greetings feel more personal, more deliberate, more centered around you. So now what? The most powerful thing you can do isn't to chase him, overanalyze every detail, or rush to define what's happening. It's to take in his energy and reflect it back with grace, confidence, and emotional awareness. Because when a man is genuinely into you, what he's really looking for is emotional safety. He wants to know he can show you the deeper, more vulnerable parts of himself without being judged, dismissed, or pushed. So when you start noticing these signs, lean into your own presence. That doesn't mean being passive. It means being open, calm, and grounded. Let your eyes meet his for a second longer. Smile, not to impress him, but because you genuinely see him. Respond to his warmth with warmth of your own. Let the conversation slow down enough for the emotional energy between you to build naturally and speak for itself. When his greeting feels tender or thoughtful, don't brush it off with a dry, one-word answer. Give it room to land. Something as simple as, "It's always nice hearing from you," or "You always make me smile when you say that," goes a long way. It lets him know you noticed his effort and that you appreciate it, and that kind of acknowledgement builds real closeness faster than any clever line ever could. If he's putting in consistent effort with how he greets you or reaches out first, match that energy, but don't overextend yourself trying to outdo him. Just be present. Respond genuinely, but hold on to your own sense of self and never chase. Because what actually draws a man in and keeps him invested isn't a woman who bends over backward for him. It's one who makes emotional connection feel safe, exciting, and earned. And whenever you're unsure, come back to your own worth. A man who greets you like you matter is a man who already sees your value. So don't shrink yourself, second guess your instincts, or wonder if you're reading too much into it. Trust what you're picking up on. Women tend to be naturally intuitive. If you sense warmth, curiosity, and genuine care in his simple hello, it's probably because it's actually there. Keep your own energy grounded and high value. That means you can enjoy the moment and the connection without rushing to figure out exactly where it's headed. Just be the kind of woman who notices real effort, meets it with warmth, and stays rooted in her own self-worth, no matter how any particular man feels about her. Because once you master that kind of energy, something shifts. You stop needing outside validation and start attracting the kind of love that actually sees you clearly and greets you with the intention you deserve. There's something almost sacred about those quiet moments when a man greets you, and something in you just knows he means it. Maybe it's how he says your name. Maybe it's the way his eyes soften the instant they land on yours. Or maybe it's the shift in energy the second you walk into a room, like everything around you gets a little quieter and all that's left is presence. Real love, or even the very beginning of it, rarely announces itself with big speeches or grand gestures. Most of the time, it shows up in whispers, in a smile that lasts a little too long, in a text that simply says, "Hey," but somehow feels like "I missed you," in the nervous energy he tries to hide when he's near you. When a man is genuinely into you, it's never just about what he says, it's about everything he can't help but do. You'll see it in how consistently he shows up. You'll feel it in how differently he treats you compared to everyone else. You'll notice it in the way he tries, sometimes clumsily, sometimes quietly, to connect with you on a deeper level. He might not even fully understand what's happening within himself, but his energy will speak louder than any words ever could. And here's the real truth. When you're aligned with your own worth, your intuition gets sharper. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop replaying every message or wondering if you imagined that look in his eyes. You simply know, because on some level you recognize that kind of energy. You recognize when you're truly being seen, chosen, and valued, not just for how you look, but for who you actually are. That kind of knowing doesn't come from desperation or wishful thinking. It comes from a place of peace. You stop feeling the need to force anything. You stop chasing. You simply let it happen. Because when a man's heart is genuinely pulled toward yours, that connection becomes undeniable for both of you. So if you've started noticing greetings that feel a little warmer, a little more intentional, if he lights up when he sees you, remembers small details about your life, or goes out of his way to say hello in a way that feels personal, pay attention. Don't wave it off. Don't talk yourself out of it. You might be witnessing the quiet beginning of something real. And more often than not, that's exactly how the deepest connections start. Not with fireworks, but with a whisper that feels like coming home. When it's genuine, you don't have to question it. There's no confusion, only clarity. No drama, only ease. When you know, you know.